Well, welcome to the June 9th, 2025 meeting of the University of Rhode Island Board of Trustees Governance Committee. The meeting is being held in person with committee members participating remotely. At this time, I will conduct a roll call attendance to determine if a quorum is present. Please clearly respond present via WebEx or present in person when your name is called out. Courtney Nicolato, Chair, I'm here, present via WebEx. Vice Chair Jay Placencia.
Present via WebEx.
Charlie Fogarty.
Present via WebEx.
Monica Garnes.
Present via WebEx.
Matthew Lenz.
Present via WebEx.
Joseph Matthews.
Present via WebEx.
David Caprio. And President Mark Parlange.
Present WebEx.
A quorum is present. I also see that Vice Chair Armand Sabatoni is present. I don't see everyone on my screen, so I'll ask Alyssa Boss to recognize anybody else in the room, virtual or in person.
I'm here, Courtney.
Hi, Margot.
Yep. Margot and Armand are both here. And it looks like in person we have Michelle Guerreri and Lynn. And remote, we have Christopher Barker, Mark Antonucci, Marquisha Miner, Kara Larson, and Chelsea Berry. Did I miss anybody? And Abby Benson has just joined.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And Barbara Wolf. Sorry.
Thank you, Alyssa. I appreciate it. A reminder to all members, for the benefit of our audience and the note taker, please clearly identify yourself whenever you comment, make a motion, or a second to a motion. Participants using WebEx are required to keep their cameras on as remote members, and all persons present at the meeting location must be clearly audible and visible to each other. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge that the University of Rhode Island occupies the traditional stomping ground of the Narragansett Nation and the Niantic people. Are there any proposed amendments to the published agenda? All right, hearing none, the first order of business is the approval of the minutes from April 15th, 2025. May I have a motion that the committee approve the minutes of the April 15th, 2025 meeting?
Charlie Fogarty.
Thank you, Charlie. May I get a second? Oh, I had Charlie, then did I hear Jay?
Yep.
Awesome, Jay, thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed?
Yes.
Okay. Who did I hear opposed?
I think that was just a delay in response to the approve.
Okay. Great. Any abstentions? The motion to approve the minutes of the April 15th, 2025 meeting is approved. The next item on the agenda is item 2, discussion items. 2A is, as we have heard, our fellow committee member, Bob Wagan, submitted his letter of resignation to the URI Board of Trustees in May, effective immediately. We respect his decision and are so grateful for his time, dedication, and insights he's contributed during his 2-year tenure. He was first appointed in 2023 by Governor McKee. Former U.S. Congressman Bob Wagan joined our board. Wagan, also a former Rhode Island Lieutenant Governor, we are so lucky to have 2 of those on this committee, was Vice President and Chief Financial Officer at URI from 2004 to 2013. He has served as a faculty member in URI's Department of Political Science and Director of the Masters of Public Administration program. Prior to his work at URI, he was President and Chief Executive Officer of the New England Board of Higher Education in Boston. He holds 4 degrees from URI and is a member of the URI College of Engineering Hall of Fame. It was a joy to get to work with Bob in this role and on the board, and we thank him for his service and wish him nothing but the absolute best going forward. So thank you, Bob. Item 2B is board communications. And so we started this conversation at the April 15th meeting, and want to thank Jay for leading that meeting and providing an update around, ongoing compliance with open government laws, while also fostering communication amongst board members, to be the best ambassadors possible for the university. I know Jay also emphasized the university's commitment to disseminating as much information as possible and encouraged members to call Margot, Mark, or Chelsea if they had any further clarifications or information. I also want to thank Margot and Chair Cook, reinforce that university leadership has to strike this really important balance between disseminating information as things are happening rapidly and also maintaining confidentiality on sensitive matters. Also ask that we talk about this topic here at our meeting. I know one of the things that I've really appreciated over the last few months specifically is really kind of just having a heads up on when things are hitting the media or when we should be expecting things. So big thanks to Matt McDonald and the team and Michelle also making sure that we're up to date on things as they are happening and happening in such a rapid fashion. So we wanted to use the time together today to really talk about what's worked well, what maybe we want to think about doing differently. Michelle's also done some research around board communications and some best practices. I've done some as well. I've talked to other colleges and universities and to get an understanding of kind of how they communicate with their boards, especially given just the rapid nature of change happening at the moment. So I want to open up the floor first and just get some thoughts on what's worked well in board communication to date that we want to continue as part of our activities.
The best thing is Michelle's updates on really important stuff. When she emails me, I know I have to super pay attention.
Yep, I agree. Yep,
Exactly.
agreed. Anything else?
I would also say, this is Monica Garnes, with everything changing so rapidly, I've really appreciated just the university's proactive stance to, addressing issues and being looped in on what those things are and how we're responding. So I think that has worked really well as also.
Great.
I agree. Michelle's been outstanding. I can't say enough for her. She's done a phenomenal job in her role, keeping the board in line. And also, from the beginning, I think I've seen a significant increase in improvement. I guess everybody gets better over time of getting information to us in a very timely manner. And I appreciate that.
Great. Any other comments on what's working well?
Well, let's give a shout out to, this is Joe Matthews, a shout out to Matt in communications. That roadie today is something that I enjoy, just knowing what's going on all the time, and it's varied and it's useful information. But I'm part of the Michelle fan club too.
Good. Anything that we could be doing differently around board communications as we think about things and the evolution of change that's happening? I know one of the things that I've seen a lot of, I think, enhancements that have been done is making sure that we are informed of things before they hit the media. I think that's been something that's been extremely important. I really applaud the team, and I know I can speak for myself, and I'm sure many others. When things hit the media, we get phone calls pretty quickly, quicker than we even have time to process and register. So even having a couple of talking points as a result of what to expect and is super helpful for us to be the best ambassadors possible. But is there anything else that folks thinking about that maybe we could be doing differently or more proactively?
So one thing that I'll mention is there is, and again, thanks to the team for putting together all of the info as quickly as they do, and we've all seen an uptick in emails to us around things going on with the university. I guess my only question, and this is sort of a question for the group, is how do we? So if there's something that's really, really important for us to look at ASAP. Many of us are busy with meetings or whatnot. Is there another way to say, hey, check out your email, or how do we get to the information quicker if it's something that's urgent for us to take a look at? Is a text message appropriate? Like, what is exactly appropriate? Making sure that we are still following the public board rules. And this might be a question, I guess, for Alyssa, that I want to make sure that we're doing this the right way, right?
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, communicating on text sort of more broadly is probably not a best practice because you don't have university devices. It's not a university account, unlike the email where we try to make sure that your email is through the university email. But I do think, there could be certainly things where it's urgent, where there could be like a blast call or just, please take a look. There's an important email for you. So we could certainly consider that, but I wouldn't want any substantive communications going out via text.
Yep.
And I could certainly talk more with Michelle about that. And the main thing is we don't want things that are sent, to a group in the way that a reply all would result in communication among the group, which would result in what would technically be considered a meeting, which would need to be open. So it always needs to be done in such a way that if you do reply to something, it would only be to the sender and not to the full group. So
Yeah.
we could certainly talk more about some strategies around there if it's something truly urgent. But other than that, we would just urge you to really sort of be regularly looking at those emails.
Yeah, and I've had the opportunity to talk to other colleges and universities to really see how they're handling the urgent messages, to your point, Jay, and talk to Commissioner Gilkey and how CCRI and Rick are doing their messages to the commission. And they are doing push-only messages. And now there's a lot of technology out there. Remind is one of them. I think all of us who have had kids in school know that that's kind of their preferred method as well. The schools have many of these tools that are push-only messages. You cannot respond back to them. So I do think that there are tools out there that we could be leaning into that may be helpful for us, because I'm continually reminded, and with my own board as well, is that this is not our day jobs, right? So we're not consistently looking at the URI email as much as we probably could or would, especially with varying priorities. So if there's a way that we can say, hey, look in your email box, or hey, there's something there for you, may be helpful. So I think it may be worth us looking into that. I know my kids' school system likes to do it without asking me anyway. So lots of various tools. Anything else that we could be doing differently? All right. So we'll take those to-dos, we'll do some more research, we'll bring it back to this group. I think also what we really want to make sure that our group is thinking about, and we can talk more about it at the board retreat as well in a few weeks, is when should we be communicated to? And I think Michelle and Margot and Armand and Mark are finding those times where, hey, the board needs to know about this. That's great. I want to ask the group, is there anything in particular that, any kind of criteria or things that we want to be thinking about, so we can give some advisement to our comms team and to Michelle as they're thinking through those options. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, everybody. All right. Item 2C is the draft 2025-26 statement of expectations, and I'm going to pass it to the lovely vice chair.
All right. Here's your lovely vice chair. As you know, on an annual basis, the URI Board of Trustees examines its statement of expectations, and we make necessary modifications prior to getting into the board for the full board for review. In this case, we will be sending out to the entire board on June 20th, the entire statement of expectations. And just one thing that you'll notice is we've taken a few documents that in essence keep track of board engagement and things of that nature. So whenever you do, again, I want to repeat what I said last week last meeting, is whenever you do attend a URI event, please make sure that you let Michelle know so that she can keep track of how the board is engaged. But one thing that we've done is we've also added the KPIs and the goals that have to do with the strategic plan, all within the statement of expectations document, so that you sign it once a year. And then of course, then Michelle and the staff can keep track of these KPIs, so that again we have expectations, and then these expectations are measured with the team. So This is actually a link within your board agenda. If you would please take a look at this, give us any ideas, any thoughts, anything you'd like perhaps changed, because this full document will go to the board on June 20th and will be discussed and requested for approval, I guess, at the next meeting of June 27th. Did I cover that appropriately, Michelle?
Yes, we won't need to actually approve it as an action item, but just if we can get the whole board to review it, and if there are any other edits, we'll make them that day, and then I'll circulate it as I did last year in July following the board meeting.
Yeah, but take a look at it because it's actually a pretty in-depth list of expectations that we have. So just take a quick look if you don't mind, please. And if you have any thoughts or changes you'd like to make, let us know. That is my report.
Thank you, Jay. C item, any questions? All right. Item 2D is board engagement review. So last month, the URI Board of Trustees engagement form went out and was sent to trustees to collect information on an ongoing effort that this committee has had around how we foster additional relationships, engagement with our students and faculty and the university community as a whole, just to really be able to also hone in on our skills and interests and availability so that we can continue to have great connections with the community. And there was a couple of key themes that came out of the responses. I want to thank all the board members who have completed this and thank Michelle and the team for compiling the main theme. So one of interest was around mentoring and career coaching, career sharing opportunities. So strong interest in helping share our own career journeys, but also mentoring students as they're thinking about their next steps, something I know I love to do personally. Focus areas that many folks shared was business engineering, leadership, higher education, and entrepreneurship as particular areas of strength amongst our board. There's some limitations around geographic distance and time constraints, but also, this could be done virtually as much as it could be done in person. So that was one area of interest amongst the board. There was also a lot of interest around URI research, specifically an interest in AI, public policy, business, social determinants of health, oceanography, and Alzheimer's research. Some respondents are opening to champion or supporting specific research initiatives. So I'm pointing to both Mark Antonucci and Mark Perlange as opportunities there. And then few of our board members were really unaware of current opportunities, but open to learning more about research particularly. The third area was class visits. So there's a lot of interest of our board members willing to speak in classes, especially in business leadership and political science. Some already participate. I am one of them, and I love doing that every year and want to expand their involvement. Some obviously cited logistical challenges, but would love to figure out ways to do so. A lot of interest in the board participating in panels and workshops. There's a broad willingness to participate and or attend panels and workshops. I know Joe Matthews often gets the award for being in the most places at URI, and I'm not sure how he does it exactly, but he does. And there's an interest specifically in areas around, again, in entrepreneurship, AI, healthcare, finance, and nonprofits, and some obviously noted availability about in person. There was a high enthusiasm about being engaged as much as possible at university events, so attending or speaking at events like alumni gatherings, student showcases. Many noted the regional events that may be available, whether it's in New York or Florida or DC. And then there were specific activities that board members noted that they'd love to be more involved in around things like fundraising, athletics, community service, the arts, judging competitions. I have judged Mr. and Mrs. Greek Week. That was a lot of fun. So I think that there's lots of opportunities like that. There was also a lot of interest in being more involved in advocacy and professional networking opportunities. So I think I think this has shown that there's a lot of interest that in between meetings, where and how we can be leveraged. I think the board wants to be. And so I think, obviously, being flexible and having opportunities. So that's my ask of our URI team, is to keep doing what you're doing and finding opportunities where our board members can be more engaged. I think, Michelle, will you share this with the leadership team at URI, specifically the areas of focus that the board members have identified as areas of opportunity?
Yes.
Great. Any questions or comments on the survey and its results? Anything that rises to the top?
Courtney, we'll be discussing it at the offsite too, right?
Yep.
I mean the governance meeting
Yep.
coming up. Yeah,
Absolutely.
good.
Yep.
I think it'll be good to understand a plan around how to execute on that kind of engagement, because
Yep.
I feel like we've talked a lot about that in the past.
Yep.
I don't know that we've had a formal plan
Mhm.
of how to do it. So I think, Michelle, maybe you give it some thought before the meeting, and Mark, and maybe we can figure out maybe it's someone can be a point person for us, or but I think we have to almost put like a plan in motion in order to get that engagement going, because
Yep.
it's kind of ad hoc, and I think we could probably take one more step in formalizing how to do it.
I agree. And measuring it before, after, to really see that engagement has changed or increased in any way.
And if there's some of these events that are happening that we already know that if we have enough lead time, I think it'll be good to just be able to reach out. I mean, I know that, Margot and many of you have reached out to me on some items, and it's just, if we know in advance that these things are happening, we can just put them on the calendar.
Yeah.
Make sure that someone's there.
Yep.
So.
And I think these board engagement opportunities, to me, I was talking to someone at graduation. I call them bucket fillers, right? Like we're very proud and very grateful to have the opportunity to serve on the board, but also being able to connect and have those moments of connection and celebration and is really meaningful. So we want to make sure every board member feels that in some way, shape, and form. So yeah, I look forward to having the conversation. Mm-hmm. Great. Speaking of board retreat, thank you, Margot, is item 2E, which is our annual board retreat, which is scheduled for the 27th of June. I look forward to spending time with everyone. And we have a good agenda. I want to walk through some of the agenda items. We're going to do a lunchtime activity. That's usually a get to know you time, also break bread together and spend time together. Margot will have some opening remarks for the board retreat. We will use the time next to talk through the self-assessment feedback, and specifically going into board communication engagement is really the top 2 points in that. And that will be Jay and I on that agenda item. We heard loud and clear from the board that an update on government relations specifically is really important. And so Lauren Burgess will do that update. We'll have a session around the current landscape of federal research and higher education funding. And so Michael Ledford will be joining us for that conversation. And then Mark Antonucci will be talking about philanthropy and URI strategic planning. So look forward to having Mark with us in that presentation. And then we'll be wrapping up our retreat together with some closing remarks from Margot. So obviously we have our board meeting in the morning, our traditional board meeting, so we can get all our other items done, but looking forward to spending time with you, talking about what we can continue to do to grow what I believe is a highly successful, highly functional, highly effective board, even more. So any questions on the board retreat agenda?
No question on the actual agenda, but the night before, what is planned? Do we have that yet? Michelle?
Yeah. So the night before, we will continue with the annual tradition of the capital improvement plan tour. I think this is our third year doing it. I think we've had a lot of positive feedback about it. Last year I had some trivia as we went through the campus, and some of you who are on that call were on that tour. Helps to further understand more about the capital improvement plan that you'll all be taking action on the following day, on the Friday. And then we'll have Mark host a reception dinner at his home after the tour. So following this meeting, I'll send calendar invites out, so they'll be on the calendars for all of the board members for what we just discussed.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item 2F is combining URI policy on policies, which always cracks me up on saying it, and the URI Board of Trustees policy on policies. Yes, there are 2 policies on policies, and so we are talking about combining them, again, continuing to work on and focus on building efficiencies. So I really appreciate Kara Larson and Christopher Barker and their work that they've done here. So I'm going to refer this item over to Assistant Vice President Larson.
Thank you, Courtney, and good morning, everyone. Yes, Christopher and I are bringing this item to the committee for feedback. It has been proposed to combine the policy on board policies and the policy on policies into a single policy. There are some considerations that are at play in combining those two, and I'm going to turn it over to Christopher to discuss what those considerations are. Christopher? Are you there?
We're not hearing you, Christopher.
He's not on mute, so I'm not sure if it's a technical end there on his end.
He was fine earlier. That's what happens.
Yeah,
You get called out and then tech work doesn't work.
We did the test. You're right.
I know.
Mm.
Okay. All right. So I'll just get started. I'll jumpstart the conversation, and Christopher will, when he can figure out his audio.
Any improvement there?
Oh, there he
Is that
goes.
right?
Gotcha.
Yeah, there you are.
My apologies. So among the considerations we'd ask you to think about is as we think about either merging or keeping separate these policies. One, we'd have to be very careful about if they combine, we're essentially creating 2 segments of a policy because we have 2 different policy owner configurations. We would have one portion of the combined policy that would have as owners the Administrative Policy Committee and the Faculty Senate on the one hand, and then the Board of Trustees as owners of the Board of Trustees related content. So we would have to be careful about formatting the policy document in a way that ownership structure was clear and doesn't cause confusion to the community members. But among the positive considerations for combining, really there's a parallel to the processes for both. So and the opportunity to bring regulations into the policy and make it very clear how parallel the processes are, both for board level policies and non-board policies coming through the development process and approval process. And timing wise, this works well. We have the board level policy up for revision by June of next year in any case. So we're happy to revisit these policies and have a chance to give them good updates.
Christopher, is there a reason not to do this? Because I don't see it.
Not to combine?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say strong ones, just that policy ownership issue is the only one that we'd have to navigate carefully so as not to create confusion to the reader. That there are, yeah, I'm not sure if we have precedent within our policies for kind of dual ownership structures within a single policy document.
Yeah, do you mind if I jump in here? Because I do think, this is Abby, this has been sort of getting the policy on policies which is jointly owned with the Faculty Senate and the VP for Administration and Finance, was a long process because we had kind of created a new administrative policy process. I think the board policy and policies was a little easier, but really having two of them, I don't think makes sense. I think we can very clearly say, you know, who the joint owners are and what the process is for the different kinds of policies, because essentially board policies go through the same policies, the same process that all of our policies do. They just go to the board for final approval versus the president. So I would very much be in favor kind of administratively of combining them and maybe coming up with a better name, because I agree, Courtney, I always chuckle with that name. Just to make sure that it's clear, it's all kind of going through the same process. And then we'll also include regulations in there, because as you know, that's been a bit of a question around the role of the Faculty Senate and the role of the VPAF for the regulations on the board. So I don't think there's a reason not to do it. I think we can get through the considerations that Chris outlined, but especially now that we have Chris here, he's very thoughtful and doing a great job really focusing on our policies. So that's my feedback.
That's great. Thank you, Abby. Any questions amongst the committee on the potential change?
Nope.
Okay, great. So no actions at this time. This is merely informational. And so thank you both Christopher and Kara for bringing this up and for your proactivity on it.
Thank you all.
Awesome. The next item on the agenda is item number 3, Charlie Fogarty's favorite, adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn Charlie Fogarty?
Madam Chair, so moved.
May I have a second?
Joseph Matthews, second.
Thank you, Joe. I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The yeses have it. The motion to adjourn is approved. The next URI Board of Trustees Governance Committee meeting is scheduled for October 28th, 2025. I look forward to seeing everybody at the board retreat in a few weeks.
Looks forward to
Thank
seeing you
you.
all in a couple of weeks.
Thanks
Thank you,
so
Courtney.
much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank